Hey, if you're a ServiceNow developer, you'll want to watch this episode. It's an interview with Kristy Merriam, who is a senior developer advocate at ServiceNow. They play a pivotal role in connecting the ServiceNow developer community into ServiceNow. Check this one out. It's good fun. I hope you enjoy it. Kristy, hello. Thank you so much for joining me on the show. Um, your role is an interesting one. I was watching some videos on the ServiceNow Developer channel a couple of weeks ago, and saw yourself and some people talking about some things coming from ServiceNow. And I noticed that the role was a developer advocate. So
Mhm.
I was wondering if you'd maybe let us know a little bit about yourself, how you got to ServiceNow, how you got to be a developer advocate, and what that role entails.
Yeah, yeah. So, thank you for having me first, Tim. It was great to get the invitation. So, thanks again for having me on the show. So, a little bit of my background: I've been in the ServiceNow ecosystem for about a decade at this point. I was a customer starting in about 2014. I implemented ServiceNow in my previous role. And then in 2017, I moved over to ServiceNow as a solution consultant. So it was my first gig in sales because solution consulting is technically sales, and we're kind of the technical arm of the sales team. And I loved it. It was an amazing role. I had so much fun talking to other customers about what they were doing with ServiceNow. But when I came into ServiceNow, I immediately got involved with something that we call CreatorCon, which is something that we do at our knowledge events that really is there to highlight what else we can do with the platform. So we have all these products that we bring to market with technology and employee and customer and creator. But what about all the other stuff? And so CreatorCon was really meant to A, support the community. So a lot of developers come to the CreatorCon space, but B was also to get people thinking more about what else ServiceNow can bring. What else can we do with it? And so I'm not talking about like business solutions. They're more fun solutions. Like we have a liquor bot that is a robot bartender that's built on ServiceNow. We've got things like the Make Farm, where you can come and customize swag on using ServiceNow. So request a custom Lego or whatever the case may be. And I really fell in love with the creator side of ServiceNow. So after a few years being here at ServiceNow, I moved over to being a creator workflow solution consultant. I was already roped into the CreatorCon space at Knowledge with Jason McKee, who kind of leads our CreatorCon events planning at Knowledge. And this was just kind of a natural evolution into developer advocacy. I kind of been an honorary member of the team for a few years, and the role came open this year in August, and it was perfect timing. And so I made the change, and I have loved every minute of it so far. So it's been great.
Yeah, well, the whole the creator side, I think you call it there. That
Mhm.
is really interesting. Again, I was watching some videos just in the last week, and I think it was one of yours, and it was 3D etching setup or 3D
Y-
printing or something like that.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was like, oh wow, how are you getting ServiceNow to do that? So
Yep.
do you have an area of ServiceNow where you're sort of building those interfaces out to the extra devices and things, beyond just capturing HR cases and tickets and FSM
Yeah.
cases, but actually using it to go and control stuff for fun?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, and like I said, that's all part of the whole idea of CreatorCon is to get people thinking like, "Man, I didn't know ServiceNow could do this." And
Yeah.
so we're using things like App Engine, which is what we use to build custom apps on the platform, and then Automation Engine, where we are using Integration Hub, so building those integrations out to other systems. Doesn't have to be a piece of software; it can be a piece of hardware.
Mm.
And while it's a fun idea, it has inspired companies and that come see it like, well, that's a 3D printer, but couldn't I connect it to something else that has an API or some way for me to interact with it? And the answer is absolutely, you can. So it's inspired ideas for people to think outside the box of what comes out of the box with ServiceNow.
Yeah, like it really got me thinking about that whole um, automation piece, like Internet of
Mm,
Things idea, where oh shit, you'd have ServiceNow just not only receiving information from those devices, but actually commanding them, controlling them. Um,
totally.
that's really interesting, and whole area of ServiceNow that I hadn't really thought of, doing. When I've worked in the partner space with clients, it's always been more traditional use of ServiceNow, but
Yeah.
that's quite cool.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. It's fun. That's why I got into it because I thought it was super cool. So yeah.
so the role is really outbound, do you spend much time looking inwards with people from ServiceNow, or is it out into the community to working with clients who have ServiceNow and their administrators and developers?
Yeah, I mean, we support really the whole community of ServiceNow, whether you're a developer, a platform owner, a business analyst, whoever that you are involved in the ServiceNow ecosystem, we are supporting you in the community. We also talk inwardly as well, because the big part of developer advocacy is literally in the name, and that's advocating on behalf of people in the community to our product and engineering teams. So a lot of times we become kind of the conduit between internal and external, and facilitating that communication to get product feedback, to make sure that we are developing the right things for our creators and our developers out in the community. And we're really hearing that feedback and working that into our products. So there's definitely an element of that. It's not just all fun and games when we go to events and get to hang out with the community and show them all the new cool stuff. There's a lot of that that goes into it as well, that kind of back and forth between internal and external.
Are there formal channels for developers to communicate with you, or is it done more through the community website, the ServiceNow community website? Is that how you interact with people?
That's one way to do it. We do have a very vibrant community. I think the last count I saw was over 600,000 active users on the community. So that's one way to do it, because we do have product managers and engineering staff that are out there reading, community blogs and articles that our community is writing. But there also are formal channels as well. So we do, I think it's a quarterly meeting with our MVPs and rising stars that get to talk directly to our product managers.
Wow.
So it's also back and forth. It's not just taking feedback from the customers. It's also our product managers and engineering teams being able to present back to the customers. Hey, here's what we're working on. What do you think about it? Like, what should we do better? Is there something you like about this, don't like about it? So there are formal channels, but then there's also our community at large in the on the website as well.
And those MVPs, I'm assuming they are administrators or developers who are working for clients. How do they rise to that position? Because I know some people who are developers and admins, and some of them are very good. And I wonder how, if they wanted to get that level of closeness and connectivity, how do they do that? Is it by attending the Hackathon, CreatorCon, those sort of things? They just get to know people like yourselves and build a relationship that way? Or are
Yeah,
they
yeah.
tapped by someone? Like, is there account manager? They say, hey, you guys should really go and talk to this guy at this client because she's a great developer, or?
I mean, there's some of that for sure. It's being involved in the community, but there's also a nomination process that goes along with being an MVP. And most of the time when people are nominating or nominated for MVPs, they are active parts of the community. So they're creating content, they're active on the community forums, answering questions. They're just visible and active in the community space. And that's how they get nominated to become an MVP. And then we have our rising stars that are making their way up through the ranks to MVP. And I don't remember the last count of that, but that class is grown pretty significantly as well over the last several years.
Yeah, right. And so
Yeah.
with the developer advocates, how many are there within ServiceNow? What area do you cover? Or?
Yeah, so we're a pretty small team. We are a team of 4. We are bringing on one more person. He actually starts next week, so look out for that. But we are a team of 4. We're very small at the current time, and we do the best we can with the 4 people that we have. So we've been traveling around the world all year. We went on this big world forum tour where we were all over the place. I went to 4. I was actually in Melbourne, Australia, for the World Forum in Melbourne. So that was my first time in Australia. It was amazing. I got to spend some time out there. But yeah, we're a small but mighty team of 4.
And you were saying you joined recently.
Mhm.
Was Chuck Tomasi in the team? Was he a developer advocate, or he
Mhm.
was?
Yep.
Right. So did you
Yep.
take Chuck's role effectively when he's retired? Is that right? Or?
Yeah, so I started in August, he retired in September, and people ask me that all the time, and they ask me, "Did you replace Chuck?" I'm like, "I don't think any one person can just replace Chuck because he did so much for the community." So yes and no, I kind of was the backfill to fill the gap when Chuck left. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's just we all kind of have our own personalities and our own things that we bring to the program, and our expertises that we bring to the program. But Chuck, like I said, I don't think he's very replaceable. So
He's certainly iconic in the ServiceNow.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I'm not wearing a bow tie. I've always told
No.
people I'm not wearing a bow tie, even though I do. I think I still have the bow tie hanging on my lamp back there. We did a little go away party for Chuck, and we had bow ties on. So,
So
yeah.
then, this is the question I wanted to ask: is how do you keep across everything in ServiceNow? Because it is a common
Yeah.
theme that I'm hearing all over the place. Yesterday, I caught up with one of the sort of head salespeople for FSM in the Asia Pacific region. And again, we were
Mhm.
talking, and there's this constant thing of, hey, even within one client with one product, there's so much for them to know about what's coming out with each release. How do you guys keep on top of what's being developed? And
Yeah, it's hard. I think one of the good things about being in the developer advocacy role is we have at least a focus area on the platform, and our focus a lot of times are the development tools. So like the new ServiceNow Studio that's been released in Xanadu has been a hot topic in our space. A lot of the Now Assist for creator topics are popular, like Now Assist Skill Kit is popular. So we get to focus more just on the platform space, like platform capabilities versus product capabilities.
right.
So we don't have to, it's good to know about those things, but at least we have a space that we can focus on and be an expert in those spaces instead.
That makes sense. Yeah, like this is
It's
the
still
tool that
hard,
you
don't
would
get me
use.
wrong. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's still
sure.
difficult to keep up, but at least we have a focus area.
So again, now this hadn't not a question I planned, but something that in the last year or so I've thought about a few times is there are a number of developer tools within ServiceNow,
Mhm,
at a couple of different levels. And I
mhm.
myself I've kind of struggled with like knowing like which is what and
Yeah.
what should I use this or that. Do you know, is there a plan to keep them sort of separated? Like this is focused at the no code kids and this is focused at the tech developers, or will it ultimately unify into one sort of studio? Do you know?
That's the goal. So that's the kind of the goal of ServiceNow Studio is it being one place for developers to go. So
Right.
I think what you're going to see happen is the experiences like App Engine Studio are going to be just kind of embedded into ServiceNow Studio. So you'll see a lot of that happening. Like one of the big beefs talking to developers was like, man, you guys have so many studios. You've
Yeah.
got Workflow Studio, you've got Creator Studio, you've got Regular Studio. And the idea was to, like I said, kind of bring all of those together into one. So it's on the roadmap to do those things. It's on the plan to do those things. But right now we're starting with that release of ServiceNow Studio that's going to bring some of those together. But I think over time you'll see that evolution of that becoming the one spot for all of our developers to go to.
I think that's a natural evolution. I think that
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense. I think it will take confusion away and just make it easy to develop in studio.
Yeah.
And depending on your level, would depend on how you choose to progress and develop in there.
And what
Like,
capabilities you get there. Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
like the video that you did just this week on the data pill transformations.
Yeah.
Really great example. You
Yep.
can write code if you want to
Yep.
do this, to address this piece of data, or just use this reusable, tried and tested little
Yeah.
thing. It's just done, and just copy it and use it each time. It's like, yeah, great time saver. Really good.
Yeah. Totally. Totally.
So what are you looking at? What are you interested in what's happening right now, or what are you sort of focused on at the moment?
Yeah. So I'm really excited about all of the new Now Assist features that we have when we talk about our own internal LLM and generative AI on the platform. Uh, One of the things that I do for the team is I do a lot of the work in the CreatorCon space in the hack zone. So I talked about the liquor bot and the make farm. That's been a big focus area of mine even before coming to the team. So right now what I'm working on is finding ways to bring Now Assist into all of those different demos.
Mm.
So for example, Now Assist, we're building a skill, and this is really silly again, but again, it resonates a lot of times with customers that come see it because they find some way to apply it to their work life. But one of the skills that we're working on is actually building a Now Assist skill to recommend drinks in the liquor bot. So knowing like you kind of saw where that was going. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
having a conversation with somebody like, hey, you
Yeah,
like orange juice. Here's something that you maybe should try based on what we have in the liquor bot. So
yeah, like what? Make me a new cocktail. Sure. Yeah.
yeah, sure. Okay, I'll do that. And so we were doing that with an external provider for an LLM or for generative AI, but now with the skill kit, now we're trying to build it internally. So we're working on different ways to bring the Now Assist skills into our
Oh,
different demos in CreatorCon.
Yeah,
So
look, I can tell just from talking to people at ServiceNow that the AI is the big push. It's just it's
yeah,
in the platform. It's coming
yeah,
everywhere. Even
yeah.
I was talking to Fred Champlain earlier this week, and his title is um, agile evangelist. But when we
Mm.
spoke, you could just see he's just so enthusiastic about the AI component of what is happening
Yeah,
in ServiceNow.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
it,
totally.
it really is amazing. I was about a year or so ago, I was at a ServiceNow evening, and again, it was one of the FSM team from Australia had come to New Zealand, and they'd given a great demo on what AI was going to be able to do, and it was around the ability for an agent to be out in the field and to have some connected documentation and basically press a button and get a summary of how to do this. Like, I don't have to read through 10 docs; it would
Mhm.
summarize for me. Now, at the end of the evening, he was like, I guess if I was going to say to you, why should you invest in ServiceNow? He said it's because just we are investing heavily in AI, and it kind of made me realize that ServiceNow it's already a great tool because there's this platform that just goes across your enterprise like no other product, and
Totally.
now with AI embedded in there, you're going to get that everywhere in your business.
Yep.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
interesting. It-
Yeah, and I mean, we're definitely investing in that space too. And I mentioned that I was in creative workflow solution consulting for a while, and one of the biggest questions I got, because we'd already released Now Assist across all the products, so technology, customer service, HR, they all had Now Assist, but Creator only had Now Assist for code. And one of the biggest questions I got from people was like, well, when can I use Now Assist for my custom apps that I'm building?
Mm.
And that was all, I mean, getting drilled with that question on a daily basis because they saw how much we were doing in the other spaces, and they were just chomping at the bit to get AI into these apps that they were building. And that's again what Now Assist Skill Kit came around for. So I think that's going to be huge for well, it already is huge for the platform and folks that are building custom apps on the platform. But I think agentic AI is something that's brand new to the scene. Well, brand new-ish to the scene.
Yeah.
But that's something that we're going to be working on as well. And you're going to see a lot about that in the future.
That that and the custom skills ability, if
Uh-huh.
people are unaware of that, that's just so great. Okay, here's a
Yep.
whole heap of prepackaged skills that you've got within the AI Now Assist capability. Oh, but by the way, create your own one. And
Yeah.
that combined with the workflow data fabric, that connectivity that's coming to whatever data sources you've got in your environment. This is what I'm saying. Like, ServiceNow is just becoming, it's really leveraging AI. It's becoming really very powerful
Totally.
in what it's going to be able to do. Yeah.
I agree. I agree. I'm excited. I'm excited for what's coming for sure.
Wow. Hey, Kristy, look, thank you very much for joining me on the show. This has been a really fun chat.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed. Really interesting. If you are interested in the future at some stage, and you've got something you want to, bring to the community, let me know. Come back on the show because it's been great fun
Okay.
having a chat. Yeah,
Yeah, that'd be great. Maybe we can come back after knowledge and talk about all the Now Assist stuff we were able to work into those demos.
yeah. When as you've got new stuff coming out like that, yeah, that would be
Yeah.
fantastic.